I got a question. I'm just curious about something. Mark was preaching there a few weeks ago about Jesus did
I do
miracles
really.
on somebody else. Yeah, I was listening. There was a person had an infirm hand or something, and then Jesus healed him, made it whole again. But the Pharisee was upset because he did it on the Sabbath.
Oh.
You know, and they was all hung up on that because he did a miracle on the Sabbath. Was there other people doing? I mean, was there other miracles going on? Not just, or was that somebody that other people were doing or could do, or was Jesus the only one that was ever do something like that? And they was, never, if it was me, I would say, never mind the fact he did it on the Sabbath. That guy's hand just made whole again. Let's look at this part. But they were so upset about him, not that part, but they was upset because he did it on the Sabbath. So was there other miracles happening?
I don't know about the other miracles yet. I want to address the part, the reason why they did that is because they are working extremely hard to entrap him and get him caught. So they're using every little rule, every little law they could to say he's false because he did something on the Sabbath. They're skipping the fact that he did a miracle. They're saying he broke the Sabbath, and that's their whole thing. I don't know if somebody else did a miracle on the Sabbath. I know there are other things that were done on the Sabbath by good meaning and well people, and that's what Jesus brings up a little bit later, which I think that's where you were about to go. Was that where you're going to go?
No, I was thinking of were miracles going on in general. The New Testament kind of gives us belief. I think it emphasizes possibly and possibly not. I mean, there are focuses on the magnitude of what Jesus is doing as a demonstration that this is from God. Yet there are also warnings against what if someone else is performing miracles in the name of somebody else, right? Even if you see these miracles, don't. But it's kind of an even if, right? So it leaves a lot of room for speculation. There are definitely perceived miracle workers, that's for sure. There are perceived magicians and astrologers and all of these things. We have, there's at least one instance in the Old Testament of a seance occurring, and it's treated as an actual seance that actually happened, that should not have happened, right? Someone not acting in accordance with the will of God. So I think it's possible, of course, what Jesus was doing, combined with his identity, combined with his power to forgive sins and proclamation of who he is, it's at a magnitude that is massive. Just even if the other ones were real, much bigger, and or the others were pure works of smoke and mirrors.
You had two instances of other miracles that were going on. Simon, and he was out there doing them as a magician, and Christ was like, if he's still proclaiming Christ, we're okay. All right, so they let that one slide. But the one that I think that might help you better is the guy who waits at the pool, and when an angel stirs the water, he can never get into it, which brings up the fact that others could get to it, and they were healed. So there were other miracles taking place based on something going on. Now, whether they were done on the Sabbath, I don't have a memory of that anywhere else in Scripture other than when they called Jesus on the carpet.
I have an interesting, it's unrelated point about Simon that I just find fascinating because we're, in the topic of defending the faith and its reliability. Simon the magician is kind of this peripheral figure that's around for a chapter or two in Acts, and you read in the later early church documents, which are considered history, right? This isn't the Bible, this is just history, that apparently a cult was built around this guy. And we have historical confirmation that this peripherally mentioned guy was around and apparently impressive enough to people that he had statues. There's a letter that I think Justin Martyr writes where he just, to the emperor, and he just lays into Simon, and then he goes, and as for that statue, emperor, please tear it down. It's one of my favorite lines in early church history, but I know it's peripheral, but you have all of these, and this is me thinking as a comparative historical sociologist, bringing my point into that. Immediately you have this community of people after the Bible, writing stuff to each other, writing books, writing letters, and it's all just following. It's
called Zoroastrians? Was that the name of the cult?
The Zoroastrians came later, I think much later. There was just a cult of Simon, the magician. In the early Roman period. Probably not huge, but enough that they got him a statue, and the emperor, I guess, apparently recognized it.
I would say, as far as whether other miracle workers were going on, I don't doubt that other supernatural forces, miraculous stuff is possible. I think that in our culture, it's something we don't think about, something we don't see. Because as I've said before, most of our spiritual warfare that goes on here in the West, especially, is a battle of ideas, right? Because, like has been said, one of the greatest things that Satan ever did was convince people he doesn't exist.
Right.
So if, demonic forces were to be showing up in power, well, some people can start believing him again, right? But now it's a battle of ideas. But you hear stories of things that go on in other places that, South America, Africa, in Asia and things. And
Everywhere but the West, pretty much.
yeah, and it seems like there's some real supernatural stuff going out there, going on. Now, is it possible there were other miracle workers? Could be.
Yeah.
I'm not going to rule it out. For sure, the things that Jesus was doing, there were several times whenever he would heal someone, he would do something, and they would say, has anyone ever done something like this before? Not that they hadn't seen other things, but wow, look at this. It's so much more above and beyond these other miracles, if they were.